Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Just thought I'd do a quick video, some reaction to yesterday's test match. Ireland drawing the series with a 1-point victory, a last-minute drop goal by Kieran Frawley. Exceptional drop goal, to be very honest. And what a clutch player he became. Two really good drop goals to beat the Springboks. And there's a lot we can talk about that test match. And now I'll just try and break down a couple of things, just a bit of a reaction. Still in Durban, First of all, Ireland had it perfect for them. They went from the altitude and cold of Pretoria to the warmth of Durban. And when I say warmth, it's been 28 odd degrees this entire week over here. It feels more like summer than it does winter, to be very honest. And everything was perfect. Conditions were perfect for the game. Capacity crowd at Kings Park, I don't know when last they had... I was actually asking one of my colleagues, Mike Greenaway, who's local around here, when the last time he remembers this stadium being full, and he said the All Blacks, and if it was the All Blacks in 16, 17, it would have been that huge loss that the Boks had, which still haunts them to this day, the 50-pointer at Durban. If that was the last time it was full or close to full, then yesterday was really sensational to see the people there, and they really flocked out. It was a typical Durban day. Lots of briars on the outer field, some real good hears going on there, and an exceptional day. Just really a good day at the rugby. Now that was the events around it, and then you talk about the game itself, and what a game. You got to give Ireland all credit. First of all, let's start off with just saying no qualms about the result. Ireland were exceptional. They're probably the better side on the day, deserved to win as well. So nothing against that at all. But being somebody who covers the Springboks a lot, I'll be concentrating a lot more on them. Although it is worthy to say that Ireland did pitch up for the game. They were motivated. They certainly had a point to prove, and they put their bodies on the line. I must say their defence on the day was unbelievable. The Boks didn't look like scoring a try. They didn't look like they could break through. And that you got to give Ireland credit. And when the moment came, they got themselves downfield, they got themselves into position to win, and then they won it. So, it was a bit of an ill-tempered game. There's obviously a lot of rivalry between the two sides. I think, in a way, you could probably say these two sides are probably a bit ahead of the chasing pack. As while I'd love the Springboks to win every game, I didn't how can I put this? I think being a fair result, I think that you sort of respect the fact that Ireland have come here to South Africa. They've been challenged. They've challenged the Boks, and they picked themselves up from 1-0 down to draw the series. Now, there's a couple of things there. Why we don't have a third test is beyond me. You'd want this to be settled, but now we can't settle it. We have to wait till next year, November, because the Boks aren't touring Ireland at the end of this year. Probably only next year, at the end of the year, they'll play them as well. So that's the next time we're going to see. But there's definitely a rivalry building between South African sides and Irish sides through the URC, through the test match rugby. And it's good to have a challenger like that. I think I was speaking to some of the Irish journalists after the game, and I think they see it as well. That real challenge between the two sides. There's no love lost. A lot of respect still, even though it didn't look like it at times on the field, but there's still a lot of respect between the two sides. So let's look at the game. The Boks were disrupted very early on. And first of all, no one's using injuries as an excuse. It was a disruption, but the fact that they fought their way back into the game just shows what a good side the Springboks are. They were 10 points down at halftime. They lost Villiers-Leroux in the second minute. I thought that was crucial for them. Villy's the type of guy who slots in and basically marshals most of the attack. And you could see there was something missing on attack yesterday. It was almost at half a second too slow, and half a second just out of sync, and where they needed to be in sync. I think the other thing as well, they were bullied at the breakdown. Ireland certainly, they stopped them more with ease. They gave them problems in the line-out. And Ireland really stood up physically. And it's been a hallmark of Springbok teams over the years that almost when they get fronted up physically, when the side fronts up physically to them, and they don't get that physical dominance straight away, yeah, then they almost struggle with plan B. And that's sort of been a hallmark, not just of this side of the Rassie Erasmus, but of other sides. And yeah, where the Boks want to be now, they know they're a good tournament team. They've won back-to-back World Cups. They're number one in the world. But where they want to be is they want to dominate between World Cups. And part of that means evolving your game. I know there's going to be a lot of talk about whether the Boks should still be trying so soon to move into Tony Brown's more expansive game plan. It was always going to be a risk, playing against the number 2 side and trying to play more expansively. And they caught Ireland in Pretoria, but Ireland regrouped very well and came back at them. So they lost really in the second minute. They lost Eben early on to blood. He came back. They lost Franco Mostert, who certainly looks like he might be a long-term injury as well, coming off with a knock to the knee, and he was limping when he was coming off the field. You certainly felt that those were those disruptive blows against them. And then Sasha Feinberg-Mngomezulu came on and had a few I suppose what you can say, his touches weren't on song as we've seen him to be, and struggled in the opening minutes. Ireland certainly targeted him in the air, and he struggled with the high balls as well. And it's had a bit of an iffy first half, but recovered well. And he's a youngster now. I mean, he was thrown in the deep end. It's a tough situation for any player. And he came through in the end. I thought he did quite well, even though. Yes, here and there were mistakes, and there was a mistake right at the end that probably also was a crucial time for the Springboks. He was pretty good all around, and I think the kid's got a great future as well, and I think they just got to back him more and more. At some point, as Jake White always likes to say, you have to pay your school fees, and those things have to come around, and you have to go through that. So, you got to do all that stuff. But, I don't think he was the problem. I think there's a bigger thing here, because if you're going to try and involve a game plan, you're going to have risks. Now, what we found on Saturday was that the 6-2 bench was quite a big risk, because in that first half, Handré Pollard didn't have a great first half. I think he'll be probably the first one to admit it. He came through as the clutch play is with his goal kicking in the second half, and that brought South Africa back into the game. But I think if we have an honest assessment of it, Handré will probably be the first one to say he didn't have his best game on attack, especially in that first half. There's a couple of mistakes that gifted Ireland points. There was a kickoff that went over the dead ball line. There was he got caught in defence. He went offside once, and those cost points for South Africa at crucial times. And just when he's on attack, he's become a type of fly that sits in the pocket a lot more, likes to have a bit more time to dictate, and that's normal fly of play, I suppose. But now he's being forced to take the ball up. I say forced, that's the game plan. And he's throwing these bullet passes. And at times, the one to Cheslin yesterday, which we had an open touchline to run down, it was a great idea, but the pass was just thrown too hard and Cheslin couldn't take the pass. He doesn't look comfortable. And I know this is still teething problems. And Handré is a talented player and he'll get there. But you almost got the sense yesterday that if you're going to play that sort of game plan, if you want to send that ball wide, the more natural player to do that would be Manie Libbok. Now, I know there's a thing about Manie's kicking that everybody worries about, and he's definitely fallen back in the pecking order because he started at the World Cup ahead of Handré at times. But I don't know. I'm not sure if that's the way the Boks going to go, if Handré is the right flyer for them. And I know that's a big call to make. He's certainly one of the best players the Springboks have. But he just feels the last 2 games he felt very forced into what he's doing and didn't look comfortable at all. I hope that can change. And I mean, I'll eat my words quite easily if that's the case. But just on yesterday's evidence, you almost felt that Manie Libbok might have been a better option. But then again, retrospect is a perfect science, so you could easily say these things. I mean, I trust what the Bok management are trying to do. I think, I mean, at the end of the day, the Boks did exceptionally well to claw their way back. They had a horrible first half. It was almost a perfect start for Ireland. They clawed their way back the whole time, but you always got the sense they couldn't place that knockout blow. And there are concerns there. I don't think too much going to the Rugby Championship. I think they could be quite good, quite confident going to the Rugby Championship. I don't think New Zealand showed that they are a terrifying force at the moment. I think the Boks will feel quite confident against them. I think Australia are in a rebuilding phase as well. And Argentina struggled against France and lost the first test, won the second test against a weakened French team. So I think the Boks are probably going to the Rugby Championship quite confident, especially playing the All Blacks twice in South Africa. That's going to be the next big challenge for them. But they're going to have to go. They're going into quite an interesting international season now. In the Irish game, this defeat would have stung them. There's not much they can do about it now. The result is the result. But if you talk about the last 4 games, Ireland have won 3 of them. South Africa's won 1. So there's certainly still a rivalry to catch up on, and Ireland do still have the bragging rights, in my opinion. Saying that, looking ahead now, they go to Portugal. The team's already been named internally. I'll do a separate video about what to expect there tomorrow morning, on Monday morning, before we leave for Bloemfontein. But yeah, you get the sense that there's going to be, I won't say too many youngsters, but you're going to see some of the fringe players getting a role. There's also some important questions that need to be answered, with Malcolm Marx getting taken out by Caelan Doris there, and Rassie saying afterwards that is a bit of a worrying injury. If that turns out to be more serious, then the performance of Johan Grobler, who's now Rassie has said is the number 3 in the squad, his performance, if he starts in Bloemfontein, is going to be extremely interesting to watch, especially what the Boks want from him. And if he can come through, that gives them another option. Of course, Franco Mostert, we don't know, but he won't probably be playing. But that makes Erkje Snyman's role more important, Salman Marat's role more important. And do we see somebody like Ben Jason Dixon come onto the bench or play the 7 role? Because if Franco Mostert's not there in the future, would the next thing be to move Pieter-Steph Toye to 5 or just start Erkje Snyman? These are some questions that have to come up. I think we have to be honest with ourselves and say some players are certainly going to be challenged. Faf didn't have a great game on Saturday either. I thought some of his options were quite poor at times. But yeah, he's still an exceptional player. But there are players waiting in the wings. Grant Williams looked a lot better and was probably knocking on the door quite hard at the moment with the quick ball that the Boks want and the type of play they want to play. So you may see him come through a bit more prominent and then start challenging. And then you've got to ask yourself as well, Frans Malherbe struggled a bit in the scrums. Not that the Boks scrums struggled at all. They were dominant. But over these 2 weeks, he struggled a bit technically against Andrew Porter. I'm not the last one to criticize Frans Malherbe. But yeah, you got to ask if Vincent Koch has more of an impact and how they swap that role. And, what happens to the other props, Thomas du Toit and Trevor Nyakani? And then you got somebody like Wilco Lowe waiting in the wings as well. So, yeah, there's definitely a lot of depth. There's a lot of questions going to be asked. There's other players that are going to start pushing other players. And just how long you stick with these players and how they raise their game plan in relation to the challenge that they're going to get challenged is going to be very interesting. But yeah, look, bottom line, we can go through a lot on that game yesterday, but Ireland were better in all aspects, in my opinion. The Boks did well. They clawed their way back into the game, took the lead, and then Cian Frawley came up with a moment that won it. Rassie said afterwards that, and the videos elsewhere on the site, if that kick had gone left or right, past the poles, we'd all be happy, and because it went over, now we're all sad. I think, though, the Boks will be disappointed. They'll know Rassie said in Afrikaans, it's a bit of a bitter pill to swallow, and they didn't achieve what they wanted to achieve, and that'll hopefully make them just hungrier. I don't think there's any cause to panic. This is one game against a team that's been exceptionally good over the years and has really challenged the Springboks and won most of the games as well. So I think the Boks did better. I think I was disappointed the fact that they lost. Expected a better performance, but you've got to give credit to Ireland for what they did there. We'll be doing some more videos from Bloemfontein, where the guys are coming and who's coming into the squad. So keep an eye lookout for those. And I'll do a video soon about what to expect from the Bloemfontein week, because it's quite an interesting week against Portugal. A lot of French players will get their shot there. So maybe not all that you think, but we'll go through those in a couple of options in the next video as well. But thank you for watching, and if you haven't already, please subscribe and smash that subscribe button. And from a balmy Durban, at 28 degrees in the winter, Durban, bid you farewell and see you in probably an ice cold Bloemfontein this time of year. Anyway, cheers.